could tell us the story of how you met Colin. And Colin, I wondered if you could tell us what you thought of Time of the Season the first time you heard it, or started doing it.
Okay, well, how I met Colin in the first place came about. Now this is really crazy. I've got to go back to the guy that plays bass with us in the band, Jim Rodford, who was the original bass player with Argent, and if any of you don't know here, was also on some of the biggest records that they made with the Kinks. So that's Jim. Jim is actually my cousin, and he's a few years older than me, only a few. I went to see him play when I was maybe 11 years old, and he just turned me on to rock and roll music. I always loved music, but I only really liked classical music at the time, because in the 50s, I mean, really until Elvis, you know, it was pretty barren time, to be honest. But he played me Hound Dog one day, and it completely spun my world around. And he was in a great skiffle band in the southern part of the UK. And I went on to see it, and I was completely transfixed. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And I thought, one day I have to be in a band, and this was really at the centre of my attention. And when I was 16, sorry, I walked into another form at school, and there was a guy in the corner playing in a folk club, and that was Paul Atkinson. He was playing guitar. And I just wandered up to him, never met him before, and said, "Do you want to be in a band?" And he said, "Yeah, I don't mind." I said, "Okay, right, there's two of us, you know." I thought, well, a guy that was a really good friend of mine, but went to a different school, was building a bass, but he never played a note of it in his life. And I said, "How's your bass coming on? How's it, you know?" He said, "Boy, it's nearly finished." I said, "Great, you can be the bass player in the band." And he said, "Well, I've got a mate who plays guitar a bit and sings a bit." And I said, "Well, bring him along. That was Colin. And all we needed then was a drummer. So we had an army corps, a cadet corps at our school. So on the Friday, I went and watched them all go past, and I picked out the guy who seemed to have the best feel playing military drums. And I went up to him afterwards and said, "Do you want to be in the band?" He said, "Yeah, I don't mind." That was Hugh Grundy. I must say, we did ask Jim Jim Rodford, my cousin, to be in the band right at the beginning, but there was no reason for him to do that, because he was in the big local band, you know. But he said, "But I'll help you." And so he loaned us all the gear, the Blue Tones. He was in a band called Blue Tones. He loaned us all the Blue Tones gear, took us to the first rehearsal, and I was in the car with Jim. And as we pulled up outside the pub where we were going to meet, there was this guy standing there, and I said to Jim, "God, I hope it's not him," because he had two black eyes, a huge plaster over his nose. He played a lot of rugby, and he'd broken his nose playing rugby, and it was Colin. So we walked into the rehearsal room, and Jim showed Hugh. Now, honestly, Jim showed Hugh, who'd never played a drum kit in his life, how to play a basic bass drum and snare pattern. And to be fair to Hugh, he picked it up in about a minute. It was fantastic, actually. So we were really pleased with ourselves here. And I was the singer at the time, so I was singing along and everything. So then we had a little break, and I wandered over to an old beaten up piano and played. Nut rocker, an old B Bumble thing. So Colin came, I played the whole thing, and Colin
I came over and said to him, "Bloody hell. You know, we were just a struggling little old band, you know, and he was playing this stuff." And I said, "You've got to be the keyboard player in the band." But Rod said, "Bands are just three guitars. They don't have piano players." But we managed to talk him around to be the keyboard. Otherwise, he would have been the lead singer, and I was going to be the rhythm. I only joined to be the rhythm singer, rhythm guitarist. I wanted to stand at the back. Whole idea. And then when Rod played that, I didn't even know him, and I walked over with strapping and black eyes, and I said, "Here, mate," you know, looking very tough. "You ought to be the keyboard player." And that's how one of the big changes.
Well, I was really puzzled, but then Colin picked up a guitar and started singing an old Ricky Nelson song, and it sounded fabulous. And I said, oh man, I said, I can't believe you can sing like that. And I said, I'll tell you what, all right, I will play the piano, but you've got to be the lead singer. And that was it. With one change, that was the band. Now, the bass player left. I mean, isn't that incredible? But do you know what? I was reading, one of my heroes is Duke Ellington, and I was reading about how he started, and they were just a group of mates. These guys that became seminal figures in early jazz, just a group of schoolmates. You know, and so many young bands actually did start out like that. It's incredible. And sort of learned. I know Dave Grohl said at South by Southwest, didn't he? He said, just get into a garage and suck. But just do it, you know, and see where it leads.
There's somebody over here with a question. Oh, here we have. Oh, two. It's you in the middle, man.
I've spent a lot of time over the last few years listening to the Zombies Heaven box set, and which has literally everything that you guys recorded. And it's astonishing to me. I mean, I've heard a number of these box sets, and there's always some things that you kind of go, oh, yeah, I know why they left that off and why that wasn't officially released. But literally everything in that box set is at least good, and most of it great. Is there anything that you guys left out? How did you maintain that quality when you were recording? It's just astonishing to me. It really
Well,
is.
a lot of the tracks on there are live on the BBC, actually. They're not even records, but there is this one track, because we used to come to America a lot, and we knew that My Girl had been a huge hit over here.
For the Temptations. For the Temptations, yeah. Not the Otis Redding version.
No, and it had never been a hit in the UK. So we came home and we recorded My Girl. And there is a tape of us doing My Girl. But Otis Redding in the UK picked us, you know, I mean...
It's going to be a single for us, isn't it? It's going to be a single for us.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, there was about a 2-week, 3-week gap. He got there first. And that, no one's got a copy of that. And we've really looked hard. So there's one track
That we can't find. which is our version of My Girl. And I'd love to find that, actually, because we were really pleased with that when we did it, weren't we? And it was great, you know, because we came over in, you know, Colin was saying we were 18 years old, 18 and 19 years old. We came over to the Brooklyn Fox. We played 8 o'clock in the morning on Christmas Day 1964. That was our first show in America. And we played mainly with some fabulous people like Patti LaBelle, who became a real friend. She really took us under her wing, actually. It was great. She played us Aretha Franklin for the first time. She told us about you know, Nina Simone and really fabulous. And we got on so well. And also, strangely enough, one of the guys that's with the Strawbs, back with the Strawbs, John Hawkins, was with the Nashville Teens on that show. So that was a reunion for us to see him again, wasn't it? As we came onto the boat, onto this ship. But that is one track, as Cole said, that I would love to find that. When no one knows where it is, but we thought we did a really nice job on it. I'd love to hear it.
If I could just answer, there was a lady over there who was asking about time of the season, and the whole thing was, it was the last song that was recorded on Odyssey and Oracle, and it was finished in the morning when we recorded it in the afternoon, and so I was really, really unsure of it when we were in the studio, and we were recording in Studio 3 in Abbey Road. And time was tight, and the budget was tight. I just couldn't get hold of the melody. It's a really simple melody, but it had just been written. And so I'm there with the red light on, and everyone looking at me, come on, come on, come on. And I kept getting it wrong. And Rod said, no, Colin, it's not quite that, it's this. But this went on for like an hour or so. And it got to the point where I'm afraid I said, if you're so bloody clever, you bloody get in here and bloody sing it. He said to me, you're the bloody lead singer, you bloody stand there until you get it right. And so, while we're singing, it's the time of the season for loving. We're going, you bloody well sang that wrong! You did this. It's always intrigued me that the opposites were going on. You know, we're singing this beautiful love song. of life. And at the same time, through my headphones is coming, come on, get it. Time, every time. I'm glad I did, Rod, I said, you got to stand there and get it right. I'm so glad I did. Otherwise, when we played it, Rod would be singing it and I'd be banging a bloody tambourine.
We've got one more question here from a lady here, maybe another song, yeah?
My question is to Mr. Blunstone. How do you keep your voice in such fine form? Beautiful voice.
Wow. It's an interesting thought, really, in that, and both Rod and I started with, we both studied with a singing coach quite late in life. I mean, in my teens and 20s, and same as Rod, although Rod did sing in a cathedral choir, so he knew a lot more about singing than I did, but we both went to a singing coach called Ian Adam in London, and he coached a lot of the West End singers who do all the shows in the West End, which would be the equivalent of Broadway in New York.
Not to change our voices, just
Not to change our
No,
voices,
not at all.
to make them stronger and hopefully to make them more accurate, because these people have to play, they have to sing night after
give them
night.
stamina. Yeah.
And so, the first day I went and saw Ian, and the same for Rod, and he would say, sing me something, so we sing something. He said, now, what I want you to do is, when you sing, I want you to lift from your pelvic floor. Now, some of you ladies out there may know where your pelvic floor is. But I guarantee not many men do. And I could see a sort of startled look in my eye, but no idea what he was talking about. He said to me, sing from your ass, dear, sing from your ass. The general thing is that the first thing you've got to do is breathe, but then you've got to support it from your diaphragm, and what he's saying is to lift, to support your diaphragm, but that's the basic thing. Then I went to another coach, and this is just a by the by, and it is actually true, that if you've got a difficult sequence to come, usually it's a descending sequence, is to try and project, you're just doing this as a pretend, you try and project out of the back of your neck. Rather, I always thought, this is a difficult bit, I'm going to be brave, I'm going to go out. But no, do it, pretend you're doing it from the back of your neck. And somehow, it works. I promise you it works. The third thing I got from a wonderful, wonderful female singer that we were touring with, and she was talking about when she went to school, and she went to an all-girls school, and she had an inspirational female teacher. So this is an inspirational female teacher talking to girls, and they had a wonderful choir, and before they played every night, she would always say to them, tits over shoulders, girls. Tits over shoulders. Now, all these are very, very good tips. Obviously, you have to adjust them a little bit. But I just want you to know that when we just throw a casual song together like we do, I'm lifting from my pelvic floor, I'm projecting out the back of my throat, and trying to get my tits over my shoulder. It's the time of the season, and love runs high, and this time give it to me easy. tell you what I really wanna know is the time of the season for loving. What's your name?